Welcome to Garage 38. This is a channel for MX5 racing, and it's for my own purposes, which hopefully gives you a little bit of enjoyment and a little bit of insight as to what it takes to prepare a car and hopefully race a car in the BRSCC MX5 Championship. Follow me for all the videos on what I get up to, my failures, my accomplishments, and hopefully something a little bit more interesting than the original video, which is in the garage messing around with a head. Cheers. The aim of today, I suppose, is to remove said water pump, cam belt tensioners. Look fairly good, to be honest. Not new, and I've got the head off. So I guess the whole point is Wallace report. Might as well upgrade it. MX5 parts, water pump. Should be okay. Let's check as a direct fit. Certainly appears to be. So hopefully we should have no problems getting it together. All of my kit is Halford's own brand. I've never had a problem with it. Seems to be decent quality. Seems to be, well, I've not had anything break yet. I use the pro stuff. Yeah, it seems alright, to be honest. Well, they've got to come off anyway, so I might as well take the tensioner and the idler bearing off separately. So the little bit about the engine. The engine is a 1.6 standard MX5 lump. In this case, it appears to have been overboard by 0.25. It's got new pistons. Would have had a new liner, or it would have at least been honed. Probably worked on cars for teenager, really. Always done my own mechanicking and such. So the purpose of the build really is a BRSCC Clubman Championship. The cars are identical, or as near as they can be. They all run the 1.6. They all have to run stock gearboxes. They can run the viscous LSD, but it's supposed to be unmodified. Yeah, I mean the cars are, to all intents and purposes, identical. It was designed to ensure that the drivers had an equal chance of winning without spending fortunes on machinery. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be alright. Reasons for these videos is really for myself, as much as anyone else who finds it vaguely interesting. I wanted to record trials and tribulations, and also it's a good record of how things went together and went apart, because as much as you try to pair nuts and bolts to one side or ensure that so obviously you sort of joined me with the car mostly disassembled. I'll go through what I've done to the car to get to this stage. The head is off, obviously. You can see it's a lot of gasket. So the initial thing was I bought the car that was ready to go. It had been racing the past 4 seasons. No idea how well it had done, unfortunately. Didn't get party to that sort of particular information, but you know, it had been racing for I think 3 or 4 seasons, I was told. The car was, you know, to A standard. The chap who I bought it from had he had actually, he'd had a team to run him, which many people do. See, if you're not mechanically minded or don't want to be mechanically minded. Right, when it arrived, I won't say that I was particularly impressed with the quality of the car, if I'm honest. There was a lot of things on it that I would have not been pleased with or comfortable in running effectively. You know, the car was in fairly, how can I put it politely, average shape. It would run and it would have finished a race, no problem. Would it have been reliable over the 8 rounds that I'm planning on doing? Maybe, but certainly it wasn't up to the standard that I would have preferred. So there's the water pump. Tension is right a minute. So a lot of people run no antifreeze. And you do that so that when you drop a coolant or you have a coolant leak, the vehicle doesn't throw slippery antifreeze all over the road, which makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Downside to that is all of this. Right, so the tensioner is on a pivot point. It's pressed. The spring needs releasing. So I shall sort of it now. Let's see if I use snips for anything to do with metal clips. Just tend to come apart a lot. Whereas you get a better grip than you would do pliers. Right. And voila. So luckily the kit came with new gaskets all the way around the gasket kit. They come with the gasket for the outlet, the actual main block interface, and also a tiny little O-ring. So I'm going to have to take 2 seconds to just find out where the O-ring goes. So before I put anything back together, I quite like to clean all the surfaces off. I like to do that with a wire brush. On a drill, and just gives it a good chance of the gaskets working. So right, so we've got clean surfaces on the pump, we've got clean surfaces on the pipework. New gaskets, new pump. You know which way it goes up. I don't like using silicone unless you actually need to. People tend to put on miles and miles too much silicone. You end up with this horrible mess, which then floats around in the cooling system and can block. That's what I was thinking about, actually. Can block passageways, and you only need to look at the water jackets around the pistons. These areas. And how small they are to have a bogey of silicone to go through it will block it completely, which definitely won't do your cooling any good. If I was sensible, I'd have my impact. I would have just belted it in a little bit. Again, impacts, I have a sort of, well, it's going to be technical. The little handguns generally are called percussion guns. The big guns to do wheel nuts are impact guns. I don't tend to like them to start things because it's very easy to cross-thread anything. So I like to put everything to start with in by hand, and then nip them up with the gun if necessary. Obviously this will be test run before it goes anywhere near a circuit, run up to temperature, so that we don't have any issues with leaks, because I'm sure we will almost certainly have some. Even if you're being as gentle and as careful as you can, you invariably end up with a leak or two. So this car now should be effectively like the old Trigger's broom. Yeah, old reference. Right, done. So we can now put the tensioner and tensioner bolts back through. And bolt. Idler pulley, I suppose, for that one. And then the other one is the actual tensioner. Lovely. It's tight. Don't need to tighten that one up because you need to put the camber on first. So, excuse the mess. This is the head that came off the car. I think it's been blasted and clean at one point, but I had a few issues with it. The main being that the head been helicoiled poorly before on the rearmost spark plug, as you can see there, which I've redone. Basically pull the thread. Now the engine is towards the end of its life, so the head has been skimmed, which is allowed within the regs. It's skimmed so far that there isn't anything left on it, as far as you can't really go any further. As you can see, I'm sure it picks it up, but the valves are below the head, with the casting of the head. You can see the screwdriver. It's the head of the screwdriver. And obviously MX5s are non-interference engine standard. Well, this is now an interference engine. So you run into combustion chamber temperature problems. So with this one, it's going to go on. I've checked it for true, and unfortunately there is an amount that the car is out. Unfortunately it's skimmed so far now that I can't skim it again, so it's going to have to live or die. Hopefully it'll live, but we'll see how we get on. So I'm going to repair the head. So the head this has been cleaned with a wire brush, so it needs a great clean off in preparation, and the surface for the block is exactly the same, so I'm going to spend a minute and clean it off and bring it back. So at this point, my very fancy wireless mic decided that it had run out of battery. Blessing in disguise for you guys, hopefully. So basically what I was carrying on doing was fixing the head bolts through by hand, and then running them in with a ratchet to make sure that they weren't binding. You know, it gives a good feel of what's going on. Then running them in a bit quicker with my little percussion gun, not putting any tension on them at all, literally just running them in until they bit the slightest amount. It was just for time's sakes, to be honest. You know, you can run it in with a spanner, but it would take forever. And then obviously the most important part is torque wrench. The MX5 asks for 3 rounds of torque. I think it was 25, 45 and 65. You know, they should be doing it in a set number or set sequence, which I'll put up in a second. And this, you know, is imperative to make sure that the head gasket seats properly. Having spoken to a few other people, they recommend that you run the car up to temperature, check the torque, let it cool down overnight, and then check the torque again. So in effect, we're going to be checking the torque on the gasket 3 times. And this should ensure, that the gasket seats properly and I have no further problems. I then move on to fixing the manifold onto the block after torquing the head down properly. So as with the head bolts, just run them in with this and then we'll torque them up properly afterwards. And that's pretty much it for my first video. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to your recommendations, the bits I've done wrong. And I shall continue to post videos when I think they're exciting enough, like this one, that are worth putting up. Thank you very much for watching.